If you have Pisces Rising or Neptune on the Ascendant, you are basically an alien. You are otherworldly. What a placement this is. I know I say this about literally every placement that I talk about, but it's always true. It's an incredible gift. It's also an incredible challenge. And the Pisces Ascendant, that's a challenge. Neptune is the ruling planet of Pisces, and in astrology, Neptune is talked about as the great eraser. It erases things that it touches. It hides things that it touches. It conceals, it mystifies. It makes everything foggy and hard to grasp and see and understand, and it makes things very intangible. And when we're talking about the Ascendant, we're talking about, in some ways, our physical body. It's our lens. It's our experiential lens. It is the story of our life in this world and this lifetime. If you are a Pisces rising, you're traveling on a Pisces Neptunian road. The Ascendant is the lens through which you're seeing and experiencing everything, the attractive mechanism through which you are attracting things into your life, the mechanism by which you are attracted to things. It's the mask that you wear. It's how people see you. It's how you see yourself in some ways. When the Ascendant is in Pisces, that's all confusing. In fact, even having a somewhat strong sense of self and identity, some consistent theme about what our life is and what we should be doing, it's really hard for a Pisces Ascendant. They can be confused about who they are and what they should be doing. And everyone else seems to have a super strong idea of what Pisces Ascendant should be like. You should do this. You should go to business school. You should be an engineer. You should be my wife. You should be my soulmate. You should do this, right? And Pisces is not so good at defending those influences or putting up boundaries around them. They kind of conform around them, or they sort of swallow all of them. And their identity becomes this kind of hodgepodge of everyone's expectations. Or at least this is true more early in life or in the immature stages for a Pisces Ascendant. This is their challenge, is to, amidst the fog and amidst the kind of lack of clarity, to create some definite lanes and create some definite values and decisions and bounce out things. Like they need to kind of become the bouncer outside the club, but for their life. But that can be difficult. That can be a challenge. The other thing that Pisces Ascendant will experience is an overall lack of satisfaction with any of the paths. In fact, this very idea of having to sort of crystallize an identity or develop what, psychologically speaking, or like Western psychologically speaking, would say is a healthy ego. Pisces, it's not so intuitive or natural. It's not something they want, right? Pisces wants to live and express themselves more in brushstrokes. They want to express themselves in moments, in feels, and they can feel more comfortable and more at home when things aren't defined. In fact, when things are left mystical and ambiguous. Folks that have Pisces in other, fast-moving planetary positions like the moon or Mercury or Venus, right? They're going to be attracted to things like poetry or music, fantasy, like those kind of abstract things that are natural avenues and ways to express and connect with their Piscean nature. Folks that have Pisces on the Ascendant live out this Piscean Neptunian path. Certainly an aimless, boundaryless, kind of dreamy walk through life without really committing too hard in any one direction, right, is at odds with how we're kind of molded and socialized and how mainstream media wants us to stay within a certain boundaried path. The sooner that Pisces Ascendant recognizes that that's not for them, that they don't need that, the better, right? The more harmony they're going to have in their life, the more things will kind of fall into place as they need to. The challenge is that in itself is actually setting a boundary. It is saying, I'm not going to live by society's standards. I'm not going to be influenced by it. It's a counter boundary. And for Pisces Ascendant, the danger actually is more that they get caught straddling too many worlds, straddling too many ideas and too many lives that are forced upon them. The shadow side of Pisces and Neptunian energy is escapism. It is not dealing with things. It is, I have all these responsibilities. I have emails I have to respond to. I have decisions I have to make. I have hard conversations that I need to talk through with people. I'm going to pretend they don't exist. I am going to avoid all of that. It's not just procrastinating them or avoiding them even. It's living in a world where those things don't exist. It's creating a reality where those things don't have to exist because either you're just not thinking about them, or you are going to find another alternative way. You're going to create your own adventure where none of that stuff matters. Sometimes Pisces Ascendant can feel energetically like a chicken with their head cut off because they are exposed to so many different things, and their perception of it is very clouded. It can be very clouded with this position. And if they're not really in touch with something that's grounding them and really in touch with where their wants and needs are and where the wants and needs of others are and the obligations of life are, it can all just get very messy. And it's very easily a situation where Pisces Ascendant is so overwhelmed, overstimulated. They're like a radio antenna that's just receiving too much static, just way too much. It's overload. Not to mention the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, Pisces Ascendant is one of those positions that attracts more people. They attract people that sense how sensitive and intuitive the Pisces Ascendant person is. They sense someone that they can mold or influence for their own purposes or needs. And it's not even always in a intentional or malicious way. It's sometimes Pisces Rising just attracts people that are coming from a place of lack or need, and people which might be more toxic because of those things. Pisces Rising, again, is going to need to find a way to deal with those interactions and bat those people away. And they can't always run away from them because these things don't always take no for an answer. Or else Pisces can start becoming influenced by the weight and their sensitivity to the emotional debt of avoiding those situations. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but I liken to it someone that is going around their apartment and they're getting out a dish for a snack, and then they're changing, and then they're watching TV and playing a board game, and all the time they're not dealing with the messes that they're accumulating. They're leaving shit out, and eventually the chaos from them just being in a dream world accumulates, and they've suddenly created this huge mess of clutter in the apartment. That's a little bit like Pisces, but it's invisible, it's energetic. They are not making specific decisions or resolving definitively just experiences. And there's long kind of energetic tails from those that Pisces is avoiding, but also absorbing, and it can be overwhelming. This is why one of the most valuable tools for Pisces Rising folks is to develop really strong practices and rituals, things that ground them. They need to create systems of structure in their life for themselves, which give them something to hold on to so they don't float away into the sky. And look, all this sensitivity, and I don't want this to get lost, this sensitivity gives the Pisces Rising individual a tremendous amount of a superpower, right? They have this incredible sensitivity, this incredible intuition. They're very good at sensing the invisible. Obviously, they're good at sensing it. They're absorbing it. They're feeling it. They see what people sometimes want and need better than those people can see for themselves. They're very good at listening and understanding, and they're very good at translating these sort of mysteries of human experience. They're really good at translating what's hard to put into words, things that get lost in the language barrier, not only between individuals, but things that get lost in the language barrier between like source and like this limited human body. And it bestows them a lot of creativity and curiosity to connect with just something that feels as full and as real and as genuine as possible. Pisces rising person is living a life that appreciates everything that is impermanent. It's a nature of the universe and a nature of everything that change and chaos and impermanence and seasonality, that's just inherent in everything. So that is why things like I was mentioning earlier, like holding a job, the same job, doing the same 9 to 5 all the time, every day. It's so challenging for a Pisces because it's unnatural. It's very unnatural, compared to how other living things and systems operate in harmony with the universe and with the energetic flow of life. Pisces sees things like relationships where there's a lot of expectation that will be a certain person and will stay that way, and the relationship will stay one way for forever, and people are never going to change, or whatever. Like Pisces rising folks, obviously they're very capable of having long, fruitful relationships, but the idea of forcing like a marriage contract as the default and making it a moral issue if like a relationship ends or people grow apart, they don't vibe with that because they realize that things do change. And I think Pisces is more interested in finding and really connecting with the most authentic moments of love and connection with other humans in moments, and in trying to find that genuinely and spontaneously, and believes less in the idea of getting married and having a family because that's what everyone does and I'm bored, and even if I'm not interested in it anymore, I should stay in it because that's what's good for everyone. Not that there's binary outcomes or approaches to relationships, but just trying to illustrate the point. For the Pisces rising person, the best type of relationships will be those with folks that see and can appreciate and celebrate the Pisces rising person for their kind of uniqueness and genius, and wants to create a life that can incorporate and seek and value the pursuit of magic and creativity, and isn't threatened by the idea that people are going to grow, and two people aligned in that way are going to grow together, and if they grow apart, right, like there was love and there still will be love, and love can change, and that's okay. Whatever the Pisces rising person does in life, they do need a way to consistently be able to pursue that sense of magic, to connect with the mystical parts of them. There's always going to be that calling, that innate comfort with the dreamy mysteries of the universe. And if it's someone, again, that's just working the same job and the same thing every day, or they're seeing the same people, like there's going to, the soul in that situation, the spirit feels claustrophobic and trapped. It all comes back to the importance of being able to gain some groundedness and clarity and sense of self. It's very unnatural for folks with this placement. They don't want to do it. They feel a little bit like an alien in this body, in this world, but some kind of forging of that ability is sort of necessary, at least while they're here, and that's what they're being asked to do. Pisces rising folks need to develop love for their physical body. With this position, or with Neptune on the Ascendant, there can be distortions, confusions about the body. There can be like body dysmorphia. There can be eating disorders or other types of unhealthy perceptions of the self that can be challenging and are worse when Pisces rising is like locked into a box and they're kind of trapped, or they're living someone else's life. It's like that escapism, or that sort of self-undoing, self-sabotaging, self-erasing that can come into play. It's almost basically a requirement for the Pisces rising person to actually move their life close to something much more spiritual. And they're going to be given circumstances in their life that are going to give them opportunities and power-ups to do that. People can see the Pisces rising person as the ultimate sort of saint or the ultimate sinner. They are capable of transcendent behavior or letting go, like more monastic or spiritual, or like, they could live like a nun. They could renounce everything. Like, it's a little bit easier for a Pisces rising person to live extreme spiritual, non-traditional lives and to gain a lot of growth and wisdom from that and share it. And they can really rise, take everything that's challenging for them about this life and really lean into it. It doesn't have to be extreme, but they can really embody it in their life experience. On the other hand, Pisces rising person can go from person to person or experience to experience, trying to extract something or get something and continue to move along like a dream. They might try to connect romantically or relationally with another person, and they're trying to get that meaning and feeling of love and connection, and they get it, and then they move on because they're living off the energy of this thing in moments, of being a shapeshifter, of getting something in the moment, but they don't believe in, or they don't have the tools or the willingness to want to stay there and do the messy work of having to show up day after day. And so Pisces rising person can drift and seem like almost like a sociopath, in the sense that they're not really thinking about the rules, the relations between other people and their feelings in the same way that other people might. For the sort of unevolved or the challenged Pisces rising person, all these sort of identity type of labels or disorders we might throw around, that can all be within the umbrella of unhealed Pisces energy. It's just leaky boundaries and marshaling of yourself versus others and expectations, and is what is truly kind and what is not truly kind. An unhealed Pisces rising person might be so challenged to put up personal boundaries that they become everything to everyone, but people think they're everything. And Pisces is forced to live kind of double, triple quantum lives where they're living as these different people. And then if all those worlds come together, people get hurt or they feel betrayed. So it's those kind of things where the line between this transcendent saint, this otherworldly person, versus this sinner or this person that has disregard for everyone's feelings kind of mixes together, when at the core it is always a person that is empathetic and senses another person's feelings and has those skills. Pisces needs a lot of alone time. They need just a lot of alone time to recharge the antenna. They need to be able to connect with who they are and what they want. And people love them. They're very likable. They're sweet. They're sensitive. There's something just incredibly special about them. And they need to, nevertheless, have their own defined space. They can dream. They're always going to be dreamy. They're always going to have their head and their life in the clouds. They're going to live a life that doesn't operate by the same rules as other people. Sometimes they do need to find ways to be in the here and now. They do need to find ways to kind of weather the humdrum, boring stuff. And they do need ways, again, to stay grounded. They should be careful of addictions and drugs, and they're just much more sensitive and impressionable than other people are, and will always have an affinity for experiences which take them away from normal way of thinking, normal consciousness. So find the healthy ones: spiritual practice, yoga, breath work. Those are the good ones. They got to stay away from the drugs and stay away from other kind of escapist bad habits, self-undoing habits. Anyway, that's enough for now. Hope this is helpful, and talk to y'all soon.